Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us today. My name is Sean Severson, co-founder and president of Water Tower Research and head of the Climate Tech and Sustainable Investing Group. Thank you again for joining us in our Fireside Chat series on sustainability. Today, we have Raj DasGupta, COO of Electrovaya. Electrovaya trades on the TSX under EFL and the OTCQB under EFLVF. We're going to be discussing a number of topics today, more of a general overview of the business. I'll run through about 20 minutes of questions or so, and we'll take questions from the audience. You can ask those questions in the text box, the ask a question box in the lower left-hand corner, so feel free to submit your questions there. Also, if you're watching this on demand, you can still submit your questions. We'll be able to get those and refer those to the company as well. So again, I encourage you to take a look at our research as well. We have an initiation report on Electrovaya, and that can be found at www.watertowerresearch.com. As a reminder, all of our content, fireside chats, are open access for all investors to participate in and to access in terms of our research. So with that, I'm going to jump right into it, and let's begin, Raj, with a little background on yourself and the history of Electrovaya and how the business came to be as a starting point.
Yeah, thanks. And Sean, pleasure being here with you. Just missing the fire. Yeah, my name is Raj. I'm currently the COO of Electrovaya. I've been with the company since 2009, after completing my PhD in lithium-ion batteries, material science. But Electrovaya is a very interesting company. It's been in the lithium-ion space for a relatively long period of time, and in that history, we've developed a lot of key IP. We've been an extremely nimble player. We've always bet on new technology and survived with improvements in our technology against much larger, better funded competitors. And I think that's a testament to the team here, and to our sound business directions.
So really a technology company from the beginning, focused on a couple of key areas of research.
For sure. The company has, I think, well over 100 patents. We are currently focusing on two key platforms. The first has been in existence for a few years. And it's based on what we call a lithium-ion ceramic technology, which provides a much higher level of safety and performance, especially cycle life, with respect to competing lithium-ion technologies. So that's where our main focus is. And our second focus would be on next generation lithium-ion battery technologies, primarily with some of our cutting-edge research with solid-state batteries.
So the company really operates two battery platforms, right? So you're talking about lithium-ion, but the SSB is through Electrovaya Labs, if I remember correctly, and that's really where you're doing the R&D for that product, but it's not commercial. But I believe you have some commercial targets for the timing on that.
Yeah, I'll delve a little deeper into those two platforms. So the first, which I mentioned, which we refer to internally as our infinity platform, and that's because these batteries essentially go on forever. So that's a more mature technology. It has been deployed in about 20,000 Daimler smart cars and several thousand material handling vehicles more recently, which is our current main focus. That technology is based on a full ceramic separator membrane, which we own the IP for, combined with some specialized electrolyte and cell design. And that is enabling that super long cycle life and much higher levels of safety. And so for that platform, we're really targeting heavy-duty vehicle markets, such as material handling, buses, and trucks. On the second platform, that's one that's not well known with everyone, and that's coming out of our Electrovaya Labs division. And that division is very focused on some very interesting research and development work around solid state batteries. So because we have quite a bit of know-how with separator design, electrolyte design, it was a pretty natural evolution for us to start developing this next generation batteries around a solid state separator electrolyte. That platform is looking very promising. We haven't made a lot of noise about it, so I would say it's a semi-stealth operation, but we are planning to make it known better over the coming weeks.
So let's talk a little bit about the actual end markets and sales. One of the few battery companies that actually is currently selling commercial scale in the market. But run through where the key target markets are for you today, where you think they're going to be in the future. Obviously, SSV creates some different opportunities, but let's look at the commercial markets available to you today and sort of roadmap those for us.
Yes, so Electrovaya has always been focused on ensuring that we can get good gross margins out of our products. So we're not in it to capture market share at the expense of losing money. So the Infinity platform is that our lithium-ion ceramic technology platform is focused on applications where the end users or customers are going to get a significant return on investment. So, which is why we're focusing on heavy-duty vehicles, commercial vehicles that will cycle batteries quite extensively. And by cycling, I mean essentially putting a high throughput on that battery. So I drive an electric vehicle, as do more and more people globally. However, typical passenger EVs are not very heavily used. I will do an equivalent of one cycle on my EV probably once, maybe twice a week. So we're targeting applications which will do 1 to 2 cycles per day. And material handling was top of that list. We've made a very strong launch into that segment. We've partnered with the largest OEM there, and if you look at our client list, they're the largest end users of material handling vehicles. It's still early days in this market. I think we're making a good land grab there, and with this higher cycling technology, we provide these customers the lowest cost of ownership.
And what are you currently displacing? I mean, we look at, whether it be a, Walmart or Home Depot or whatever, when you go into those markets, what are you, obviously you're taking market share from something. So maybe talk about the displacement of those and why your particular battery is a good solution for those, or replacement for those.
Good question, Sean. So for the most part, we're displacing lead acid battery technology, but that's not the only technology we're displacing. So if we go into some of these distribution centers, typical operations were often with 3 lead acid batteries per vehicle, and they would typically swap these batteries out every shift, which is an enormous operating expense for these companies, like a Walmart or something. And we've replaced that solution with a single battery and sometimes a much lower ratio of chargers. And we can do this because the battery cycles for much longer period of time, and we can also rapidly charge these batteries. The second, so that would be the lead acid, but we're also displacing internal combustion engines. Some end users were unable to go to electric in the first place because their throughput of energy was so high that even 3 lead acid batteries couldn't make their operation work. And we've managed to even make those ones work. And then finally, we even see some displacement of fuel cells.
And this actually has an ROI to it, right? I mean, I've seen the Raymond calculation, and we'll get into that relationship in a minute. But this is something where, a user of material handling equipment and warehouse manager can look at this and say, look, if we use Electrovaya's batteries and we do a retrofit, for example, or buy new units, and I do want to touch on the retrofit for a minute as well, because that's a big opportunity. But this creates an ROI for that user, if I understand the economics correctly.
Oh, for sure. These are sophisticated buyers who, it's not like buying a car and you like the color. They are going in and making complicated long-term spreadsheets and finding how quickly they can get a return investment. And generally speaking, we provide very good returns on investment with these solutions, even though the CapEx can be quite a bit higher than the lead-acid incumbent technologies. And that ROI is coming from a number of areas. One is the higher energy efficiency of the technology. Two would be much better operational efficiencies, getting rid of battery switching, higher performance of the vehicles. And the third is the longevity of our device. So we've had batteries in the field for instance, at Walmart for over 4 years. There's been no degradation in battery performance or capacity over that time period, which is what we told them from the get-go, but now we have data to prove that. So that's a key element to this technology.
One of the things I found really appealing is when you look for strong partnerships and customers, and Raymond Toyota is one I'd like to discuss because they're the largest materials handling equipment company, and they're using your technology. So maybe just explain a little bit of that relationship and how that came about and what it really means for the investor when they look at this.
Oh, no problem. So Raymond is you've probably seen a Raymond forklift at your local Home Depot. They are I believe the largest. They're 100% subsidiary of the Toyota Material Handling Group, and they only make electric forklifts. They don't do anything else. So if you think of them as an electric vehicle manufacturer, they're probably one of the largest. And they, because of their history, they know batteries through and through. So their CEO is the chair of the New York State Battery Consortium, New York BEST. So they're very well embedded in this space. They understand the technologies and they understand what they're looking for. So when it came to us partnering with them, it was a long process of due diligence on their front. They tested our battery systems in their own labs. They outsourced some testing to external third parties, and there was extensive safety requirements. I would say we became their partner by proving that we were superior to the competition with respect to both safety and performance. Safety, Sean, in this material handling space is more sensitive, I'd say, than the electric vehicle, the passenger electric vehicle segment. And part of that is because these vehicles operate within buildings. So it's one thing having a fire on the road and another inside a warehouse where you can burn the whole place down. And many of these warehouses will have over 200 electric vehicles operating within the facility. So it's a key element in their selection and requirements.
That's a great lead into my next question, is about the competitive environment and the technology advantages. I mean, investors are bombarded by a variety of different battery technologies and companies, and it's sometimes hard to sort it out because a lot of technology is behind the scenes, right? It's not something that's easy to discern, and an advantage here or there. But can you maybe help us understand what the competitive environment is and some of the applications, or why you have advantages, let's say, in the material handling, obviously one of the largest manufacturers of forklifts. So when we compare and contrast, I know it's difficult to talk about every company out there, but just give us some basic framework.
Yeah, I think all these companies are working hard, and they've all got smart people. developing technologies. But I think we do stand out, especially with that safety and cycle life advantage. I don't think anyone comes close to us in the lithium-ion segment in either of those areas. With respect to the market, there are a few players looking at it. I know Plug Power is not a lithium-ion manufacturer. They're in the fuel cell space, but they derive the majority of their revenue from the material handling industry. And we are tackling similar customers that they are. So we look to them as a market maker for next generation technology in that industry. With respect to lithium-ion players, most of them are focused more on the on maybe making higher energy densities or others. We definitely have this niche of superior safety and cycle life. I think if you're thinking of which player would be a good comparison, though, we've come across a company called Microvast. They have, again, they focus also similar to us on higher safety levels in their technology. They're, of course, quite a bit larger than us, but we're hoping to change that in time.
Very good. Yes, they think, I guess when you look at the landscape, it's going to be a gigantic market, right? So there's going to be a lot of very big pie for people to participate in. Let's say that in terms of market and growing markets. But it seems like to date you set out a pretty clear advantage in the material handling space over the competitors by the nature of your customers and working with Raymond Toyota.
I tend to agree, Sean. And the lithium-ion battery space is going to be enormous. It's going to be the new oil. So there's many different flavors and many different types of applications which need something different. So there's space for there will be no single dominant player in this industry. That said, we also feel our next generation solid-state battery technology will also stand out amongst our peers. Again, it's been semi-stealth, but thus far, we've seen very good results, and we're very excited about the developments in that space.
Thanks, Raj. Next question I have is regarding just recently reported your results for the quarter, and found it interesting, to look at the 27 million, the reiteration of the 27 million in revenue. Can you explain a little more detail on why you're that confident about that? Help us understand what your order books look like and the predictability of the revenues. And, I know it's not like a backlog necessarily, but help us understand how the confidence comes in certain, revenue projections and directions you might have.
Yeah, I think, Sean, we have very good confidence in that number. We don't take it lightly putting it out there. And that revenue is coming, the vast majority is coming from the material handling segment and a little bit from batteries going into AGVs, automated guided vehicles. With respect to how we get to the number 27, that is a combination of purchase orders in hand and clear indications from both Raymond and one key end user for their demands in 2022. So our production planning is set for that goal.
Would you say there are any specific milestones that investors should track or look for? Let's call it calendar 2022, however you want to look at it, but things that are coming up that are going to be milestones for the company that we should be paying attention to and looking for.
Oh, that's interesting. So key milestones, one on the technology front, look out for what we have to put out there with respect to our solid state battery developments. With respect to our core business on the Infinity platform, it's going to be a steady growth, I expect, in terms of our output and thus financial results there. So we'll try to communicate that effectively as that grows.
Yeah, because again, you have pretty good visibility on your orders, so it's not necessarily like you should be looking for a sudden surge in orders, let's say, or a pullback in orders in that 12-month period. It's pretty predictable and expected, right?
It's becoming much more predictable. I'd say the last year was nascent, and we were sort of a lot of customers were trialing this technology, and this year, many of those same customers have given us clear forecasts of what they want in the year. Now, when that transpires to actual purchase orders, doesn't necessarily, the timing of which is hard to predict, but we do know the demand is there. And we do have a strong existing order backlog as well.
Great. So last question I have before we turn it over is coming back to you for some kind of summary remarks, but what is the risk here? If you're looking at, is it execution risk? Is it customer risk? There's everything can't be that easy. There's got to be things that have to be executed on. And what are those things in your mind that's most top of mind, let's say, at Electrovaya?
So as you know, Sean, the last 24 months have been a roller coaster with respect to changing circumstances with respect to supply chain and pricing, and everything is thrown into the air. That said, we've been extremely nimble for instance, with our battery management system, which is our electronic circuit boards, which control the batteries. Chipsets, of course, have become hard to come by, and our engineering team has been nimble in getting our boards to be at a point where we can change chips relatively quickly. So we don't have any risks with regards to that, thankfully. Of course, there's volatility with respect to commodity pricing, which is quite high right now. That said, our supply chain team has been very effective in mitigating some of that volatility. So obviously there's risks with the world in 2022, but we seem to be running that boat rather well. With respect to this product, we've produced thousands of them already. I wouldn't say there's a technology risk or product risk.
Well, we have a lot of questions, so I'm going to jump right to that so we can get some from the audience as well. And first question is, as stated, you have superior batteries compared to the rest of the heavy equipment battery market. What are you doing on the marketing side, to promote that? I think is the gist of the question. By that, I may mean, I think there's twofold. One, what are you doing to, broaden your customer base, let's say, in lithium-ion? I mean, how are you getting out there to sell this to other customers? And I think probably also tied into that is making investor awareness, right? I mean, it's key, because look at some of the other stocks in the industry. I totally know where this question's coming from. There's a lot of stuff that's been pretty active and with investors relative to Electrovaya.
So, good question. So, my role is operations and to make sure we meet our customers' requirements and effectively make sure the products are good. So, I'd say we've done a very good job on the material handling product line, and that's going to the top end users, Fortune 500 names that you would all know. We want to repeat that same success in the heavy duty truck and bus market. So we have developed a good high voltage battery system, which is being marketed to those customers. And I hope to see very positive results, which would manifest, of course, later in the year. And on the investor side, that area, of course, I'd say we need to do a bit better, and we're making efforts to do such. Of course, that some of that has to do with adding good people to our team, which we are. So I'd say you will see some more activity on the marketing front in the coming months.
And certainly having strong results don't hurt either when it comes to investor attention. So,
and strong results will help. I'd say, us hitting what we're saying we're planning to do with respect to the fiscal year guidance, results really will position us in the right way, and we will get there.
So the next question is, are you able to provide any more clarity on the potential volume of unit sales from only the Raymond business? We know Raymond produces approximately 150,000 new forklift trucks per year, but how much of those are expected to be powered by your lithium-ion solution? What's your market share there, I think is what they're talking about.
So we, of those Raymond vehicles, you have to take out the smallest, tiniest ones. We won't provide batteries for the very small forklifts. We're focused on the medium and large size vehicles, and we're providing the lithium-ion solutions for all of those. Again, this is a product line that's relatively new, and I'd say they're very supportive of going lithium. And you can see that from their website. You can see that from their senior management, who is closely involved with their energy division. So I can't comment on how large they're going to get, but they are a substantial player in this space. So
the next question, Raj, is regarding retrofit opportunity, which I wanted to touch on as well. Everybody thinks of the Raymond relationship, the OEM business, but it would seem to me the retrofit market is just gigantic for existing lead acid battery forklifts that are out there. What's your strategy there? You go to market, and could that be bigger than the OEM business at one point?
It can, and it doesn't necessarily need to be mutually exclusive. So we can work retrofits with our OEM partner, and we are doing such. So lead times on new vehicles have gone up due to the current climate. Retrofits have always been a key part of our offering. For instance, the Walmart distribution centers that we have outfitted thus far have been retrofits for the most part. And this year, a significant percentage of our deliveries will be retrofits. One of our current largest end user for this year will have a mix of retrofits and new sites.
So speaking to that, the next question is capacity, which looks like you're on pretty good revenue ramp and seeing obviously a lot of uptake. What's your capacity expansion plans, CapEx and such?
So last year, 2021, we did invest in some tooling at our contract manufacturing sites to increase capacity. So we don't have any capacity constraints for this year and probably next year. That said, we are looking into it, especially with respect to localizing more of the supply chain. Localizing, I mean, keeping it in North America to shorten lead times and have better control. So I don't see capacity as being a constraint in the near term.
We're running out of time, but I did want to take one last question. I believe you touched a little bit on it during the quarterly call, but a very important one: profitability. Revenue on that 27 million, profitability, cash flow. So if you can maybe drill down a little bit on that to talk about profitability plans.
So as I mentioned at the start, our goal is never to sell these products at a low margin. We do provide, through our technology advantage, a lower cost of ownership for the customers through that technology advantage. And as a result, we're definitely not the lowest cost solution. And that's how we keep our margins healthy. For the fiscal year 2022, we did state that we are going to be EBITDA break even and positive for the fiscal year, despite significant headwinds with respect to some costs going up.
Yeah, costs. Certainly everybody's experiencing that. So again, I thank you everybody for your questions. I apologize. There are a number we didn't get to, but we try to keep these in 30-minute slots. And again, I encourage you to take a look at our website, www.watertowerresearch.com, and you can access some more of our content and research on Electrovaya. With that, I'll turn it over to you, Raj, for any closing remarks, and we'll wrap up today.
Sean, it's been a pleasure chatting to you. And I don't really have anything else to add. Just that I think we're in. We covered quite a bit. It's an exciting space, very dynamic, and I believe we're an interesting company to watch.
Great, and I think we'll have hopefully a bunch of these conversations for investors in the future here. So looking forward to engaging on that front. And thank you everyone for joining us today. Appreciate your participation, and everybody have a good day. Thanks, Raj.